Is ABDL a kink fetish or a lifestyle way of life? Yes, the debate is still going, and I would imagine we're going to have to deal with this debate until the end of time. Most on the outside looking in, as far as the ABDL community goes, they've read the dictionary and they have read what ABDL is. So as far as they're concerned, ABDL is in fact a sexual kink or fetish. There are those within the community who are into ABDL because of a kink or a fetish, sexual in nature. And these people feel that that's what makes the world of ABDL go round and round. However, just because you are into ABDL as a sexual kink fetish for sexual gratification, whatever, doesn't mean everybody is into it for the exact same thing you are. Nobody has the right to determine what ABDL is for someone else. It's like I was at the public library. This was, a year ago, I guess, maybe a year and a half ago. There was some parents there who had petitions. They were trying to get people to sign petitions to have the public library ban books out that they didn't feel were appropriate for children. And I said, well, I don't have kids myself, so I guess I'm just going to have to agree with you that you have the choice to determine what books your children read and what they don't. However, you get to determine what your kids read. You do not get to determine what I read. And the nasty look I got was just, it was kind of scary, head spinning around, spitting out pea soup and shit. It was pretty nasty. No, I'm just exaggerating. I see so many people asking if they should tell their friends, family, loved ones, whatever, that they are ABDL. Then they get bombarded with those saying they wouldn't want to know their father, mother, brother, sister, cousin, twice removed, sexual kink or fetish. So why would they think that they would want to know theirs? Now, in most of the threads that I've read about this topic, nowhere in there did they put that they were into it for a kink or fetish. The only key word they had was ABDL. That was the only thing. Nothing more, nothing less. ABDL. But it proves my point. People only read what they want to read and then open their mouth, or I guess in this case, open their fingers, and start spewing out advice on something they don't know anything about. Back in the day, we used to call it giving Peter Pan advice. Let me tell you a story about how the not reading the entirety of the post works. So a long time ago, there was 3 little pigs. So a long time ago, I was in this site, gay.com, back when gay.com was actually a thing. I was in the chat room and someone in the chat said, I heard that a certain group, I'm not going to mention the band's name, but are gay. Some people in the chat said they are. Some people in the chat said they're not. Some people in the chat just says, I don't know. I don't want to talk about it. I said, I think they are. I think they came out on one of those news shows or something like that, like 60 Minutes or 2020, something of that nature. Now, the key word being like. Well, a few minutes later, here comes the online research group. I looked at both 60 Minutes and 2020's website, and I didn't see it anywhere in there, so it must not be true. I told them you might want to get hooked on phonics because you missed the part of me saying, or one of those shows like that. So we need to read the entirety of the post before we start to vomit shit out of our mouth. But let's look at some of the reasons people would be into ABDL. Number 1 would be the big daddy of them all, sexual kink or fetish. Now, like I said at the beginning, most within the ABDL community do in fact look at it as a sexual kink or fetish. And there's nothing wrong with that. You do you. Since the dawn of history, people have been into many things for sexual gratification. Now, there are many parts to the sexual kink fetish within the ABDL community, and each person has their own way of doing things. Though we mustn't forget, we will always have those that think their opinion is the only opinion that are going to tell someone the way they are doing their sexual kink or fetish is wrong. I don't know why people think just because something's a fetish that everybody that's involved in it or that uses it is therefore a sexual fetish. Let's look at those who are into leather kink for sexual gratification. Does that mean that every metal band from the frickin' 80s was into the sexual kink of leather? No, they wore leather because, well, some of them look pretty damn hot in it. I guess there's just some things in life we're not meant to understand. Number 2 was coping. Some are in ABDL to cope with a dramatic or traumatic incident that happened within their childhood. Whatever their reasons are, it's none of my business, nor is it any of your business. And yes, a lot of them are in therapy with actual licensed therapists, so they don't need your Peter Pan advice there. But they find ABDL to be more comforting for them. Whatever their reasons are, it's their business. I myself had a traumatic and dramatic childhood. From being bullied relentlessly in school, mentally, physically, sexually. Later in life, Mark found out that it was actually called SA. Who knew? And I also had a very, very, very abusive father when he was drunk. Let me just clarify that, give a disclaimer there, if you will. But I'm not into ABDL as a coping mechanism. I've dealt with my issues years ago, and I'm perfectly fine now. However, because I don't need ABDL as a coping mechanism, doesn't mean others will have the same results. Now, I do have those in the online medical field with a degree in my opinion is the only opinion that matters, school of everything, aka Reddit, tell me I'm using ABDL as a coping mechanism for my dramatic or traumatic childhood. They're making these outlandish discoveries about me without knowing a damn thing about me other than what I post online, but they have all the answers. Now, I myself know myself better than anybody. And that I don't, I think my bachelor's in psychology would cover the other areas. So people have their own reasons for using ABDL's coping, and I'm not going to say what they are doing is right or wrong because it's none of my business. And if it's working for them, just leave them the hell alone. Remember, don't fix it if it's not broken. Number 3, a lifestyle or a way of life. This is the area I fit into. Some people, and it's a growing number of people within the ABDL community, are ABDL for the pure enjoyment of it. Not sexual, not coping, just the enjoyment of it. Not sure why. The world may never know. It just is. I have always loved playing with toys, mostly toys that you'd probably find in a 3 to 8-year-old's room. It brings me joy and it brings me happiness. Why do people seem to think that in order for them to be happy, you have to be miserable? I don't understand it. I don't think anybody will ever understand it, to be honest with you. I am comfortable wearing a diaper 24/7, and I couldn't even think to wear regular underwear. It would just freak me out. I like wearing little attire, and I pretty much love everything there is about ABDL. I could never have sex while in little space because that's just weird to me. People that do it are just weird. And there are many other reasons why people are into ABDL. I just kind of hit the tip of that iceberg off there, just kind of chipped a little ice off from my drink. And yes, some mix and match their kinks and fetishes. That's perfectly fine. I don't know why that's in this topic, but there it is. I said it. So no matter how you identify within the ABDL community, you're just as valid as anybody else within the community. And remember, just because you do ABDL a certain way doesn't mean everybody needs to do it the exact same way as you. So if anybody asks about coming out to a family, friend, loved one, etc., read the entire post before you start to spew, before you start to offer up your advice. You can give your reasons why you wouldn't or why you would, and let them make up their own mind. They're asking you for advice, not asking you to tell them how to live their life. And there you have it. That's my 2 cents. So like, subscribe, share this video, and until the next time, stay little, stay happy.